that although Bhindranwale was cultivated by Zail Singh and Sanjay Gandhi to destabilize Akali Dal government of Badal and Janata Party, Khalistan, Bhindranwale issue will be used. And Khalistan issue will be propped up so that people in India start feeling that India will be dismembered. The Operation 2 plan was to win the 1985 elections. Use the Bhindranwale Khalistan issue on a much higher scale. These were the characters, this was the plan. I met Mr. Gary Saxena, who had taken over as R&AW Director and Secretary. I told him that Mrs. Gandhi will be assassinated within the next 6 months, so you have to save her. Then he said, killings of the Sikhs in Delhi if this takes place. Then he said, who are they? I said, obviously Pakistan and the Western countries. In November 84 program, Sikhs were killed by the Hindus themselves. How can you forget? And secondly, it's very big scar.
Over the last several months, you might have seen the word Khalistan making big headlines in newspapers, in TV channels, in social media, of course. News, of course, pouring in from all over, from Australia, from London, from the US, and of course, our very own Punjab. Making headlines as far as Khalistan is concerned. Many of you may have heard the word Khalistan referendum even for the first time. But ye mudda naya nahi hai, bahut purana hai. Today we have with us GBS Sidhu ji, who has spent decades with India's research and analysis wing, or R&AW. He's also author of an authoritative book on the Khalistan conspiracy. He was posted in, he was posted in Canada for several years, at the, just ahead of this entire Khalistan word being bandied about. Welcome to the show, sir. Sir, आज we hear कि पाकिस्तान has a big hand in stoking the Khalistan controversy. लेकिन आपकी किताब ने you've written that Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale problem had actually been created by Congress leaders to destabilize an opposition-led government in Punjab. How did you come to that conclusion? Take us through your experience there.
Thank you. Actually, in 1973, while I was posted in R&AW, the founder secretary, Mr. R&AW, had assigned me with one of the two landmark operations that the organization had completed within 6 years of its formation in September 1968. The first big one was the liberation of Bangladesh, in which R&AW raised Mukti Bahini and conducted Saiwar operations and other political operations, which ultimately led to the creation of Bangladesh as a separate country. The importance of this operation can be judged from the fact that the map of South Asia changed. The second operation which was assigned to me was the merger of Sikkim with India. That merger took place in 1975 July, and that operation changed the map of India itself. And after the completion of that operation, I was transferred to Ottawa as first secretary in the High Commission of India, Ottawa, Canada, where I stayed for 3 years from September 76 to September 79. It's a huge country from east to west with 5 different time zones. But I traveled and I met lots of people, traveled around. In most of the big cities I went twice. So I came to know lots of Indians, especially Hindus and Sikhs of Punjab. During my interaction with them, I found that there were only 2 persons in Canada who used to talk about or propagate Khalistan. First one was Uday Singh Sudbury. He was a professor. He was a religious type of man. And he somehow started believing that the Sikhs will be better off in Khalistan. The other person was Kuldeep Singh Sodhi, who used to call himself as Consul General of Khalistan. He was the man of, he was actually in the pay of ISI, and Jagjit Singh Chauhan's man. And Jagjit Singh Chauhan was known to be very close to some senior senators of Republican Party and was also in the pay of ISI. So everybody knew about it. The respect that Sodhi enjoyed could be assessed from the fact that in March 1979, I was called to Toronto to deliver a lecture to the Sikh conference there. While I was speaking, I just started speaking, he stood up that Mr. Singh, my passport name is Singh, that he is the agent of Morarji Desai's government. and he should better tell as to how Sikhs are being treated in Punjab. So no sooner did he say that, 4, 5, 6 picked him up and threw him out of the hall. You can also, otherwise if Khalistan was an issue, why should he have been treated like this? Within a few months, in June 1979, I got a letter from a joint director in R&AW that said, Sidhu, you should not be wasting your time on Gurdwara politics. You better concentrate on your work. It's okay. Then I returned to headquarters in 79 November. At that time, R&AW headquarters were located in South Block. There's few rooms, secretary and 3-4 senior officers, including me. I was not very senior, though I was handling a very important desk of R&AW stations abroad. All them, I was managing them. And within a few months, I was assigned with another important desk, that was the liaison with foreign intelligence agencies. So it was only in December 1980 that R&AW had started a branch for Sikh extremism.
Okay.
It means till December, if there was any Khalistan movement extremism outside India, there should have been a branch there in R&AW. There was no branch at all. And then in January or February 1981, I was called by the then director, Mr. Santook. He said, please make 7 proposals for new stations in West Europe and North America, Canada and US. So I prepared 7 proposals and sent to the MEA. In my hearts of hearts, I thought that these will not be accepted at all, because MEA used to protest even for the creation of PA's post assistants. I thought that this will be rejected. But I prepared them based on my interaction with these people. I knew some of these people, Khalistan, Mumbo Jumbo. So I prepared, and they were sanctioned, to my utter pleasant surprise that these were sanctioned in 2 months period. So before that, while I was in Canada, and what was happening in Punjab was that although Bhindranwale was cultivated by Zail Singh and Sanjay Gandhi to destabilize Akali Dal government of Badal and Janata Party is a precursor of BJP, so that Khalistan, Bhindranwale issue will be used. Bhindranwale will be used to create a fear of the safety of the Hindus, and Khalistan issue will be propped up so that people in India start feeling that India will be dismembered. So they tried these tactics over these Akali and Janata Party to create differences between the two of them. And they, according to Nair, Kuldeep Nair, he said, he's written in his book, The Beyond the Lines, his autobiography, that he once talked to Kamal Nath about Bhindranwale. He said, Kamal Nath told us that they interviewed 2 sons, but out of the 2, Bhindranwale suited our requirement. And then he will be able to attack the moderate Akali leaders. And Kamal Nath also told them that they were also paying some money to Bhindranwale. And Kamal Nath said that we never knew that he will become a terrorist out. But in the hearts of what I read, they must be very happy that he is doing the job. So in spite of their best efforts, they could not create a division or destabilize this government. Another thing which I have quoted in my book was that Mr. B.G. Deshmukh, a senior ICS officer who later on retired as cabinet secretary, in his book has written from Pune to Prime Minister's office that he visited Punjab by road in middle of 1979, and he met villagers in the field. He met lots of people in Golden Temple. He also met some Hindu industrialists in Ludhiana. On his return, he told his joint secretary, said, Punjab is a haven of peace and tranquility. There was nobody bothered about Bhindranwale and others. The joint secretary said, sir, the Congress is hobnobbing with Bhindranwale, and it will be very difficult for them to control that thing. So now, after having got this station sanctioned, by that time we have shifted to our new building in CGO complex. So there, Mr. Santook again said that, Sidhu, now you brief officer of director's rank about what is Khalistan, what type of information they should be gathering. Now, middle of 81, R&AW officer did not know what is Khalistan. Then again, although the stations were sanctioned, we could not man them. Toward the end of 1981, I was again called by Mr. Santuk. By that time, Mr. Kaur had already joined as security advisor in August 1981. So he said, Sidhu, now we are hearing a very disturbing news that you go to Canada and America and see what is happening there. He called me and then I went there, stayed there about 15 days, visited various places, and on my return, I handed over a one-page note to Mr. Kaur. Mr. Kaur said that now you go and show it to Mr. Sharda Prasad. Sharda Prasad was the principal information officer of Mrs. Gandhi. His office was just opposite Mrs. Gandhi's. I gave it to him and he looked at it, didn't talk to me, didn't discuss it, and he said, you can go. I thought they will control the press because the local vernacular press was creating poison between Hindus and Sikhs relationship. I was totally surprised. Within a few weeks or so, it started now being more venomous. So then I was not very sure as to what is happening. Where is the Khalistan outside? What is this happening? I thought Mrs. Gandhi was trying to teach the Akalis a lesson for their opposition to the emergency. During the entire emergency period, 6 jathas would move out of Golden Temple and court arrest. I thought she is teaching. But I was shocked when one of my friends from Patiala came in March-April 1982. He said, Bhai Sahab, I have heard a very disturbing news from my local RSS contacts. What was the news? They said that after winning 1980 January election, Sanjay had advised his mother, Mrs. Gandhi, that we will win the next election due before January 1985 on Bhindranwale Khalistan issue. Now it started making sense as to what was happening was a part of this design.
This is a very, very serious accusation or allegation that you've made. In your book you've written it. Have you backed it up with proof?
I have. What else I have given it. All the facts are there and nobody has contradicted me. The book had come 2.5 years ago. And now, in order to make the book simple, I have written it in the form of an R&AW operation.
Right.
Operation 1, limited to Punjab, which started in the middle of 78 when they cultivated Bhindranwale, which ended with the election, January 1981 election. So, second operation started with January 1980 when the Congress came to power in the center, and it had a much wider ramification. Operation 1, every operation has an objective. How to achieve an objective is a plan, and there must be some men to run this operation. So Operation 1 had a plan of destabilizing Akali Janata Party alliance government. And the plan was the same. They will use Bhindranwale Khalistan issue. And people who were running this operation from 1 Akbar Road, that was Prime Minister's personal residential office attached to her residence, 1 Safdarjung Road. They were Sanjay Gandhi, Zail Singh, Mrs. Gandhi, and Kamal Nath was also there. Then now, Operation 2, when operation starts, the Operation 2 plan was to win the 1985 elections. How are they going to win? To use the Bhindranwale Khalistan issue on a much higher scale. And person who were managing it, Sanjay died in June 1980 in that air crash. His place was taken by Rajiv Gandhi. And then Arun Nehru, Fatedar, Mrs. Gandhi, Kamal Nath continued to be there, and Arun Singh also joined them later on. So these were the characters, this was the plan, this was the... And I have given all the examples everywhere.
And nobody has come and contradicted you actually, on what you've written.
Personal level, lots of people are saying, but I told them, please write in paper or publish something, I'll contradict that. So here now, Operation 2, when it was decided that they will win the next election in 85, there was a long period from January to 85. Unfortunately, with Sanjay's death, there was a gap arrangement. Then these people said, now, to use this interim period, they will have two things. We will start negotiation with the Akalis, and give them an impression that we are really serious to address their issues, demands, lots of demands, Akalis and all that. Then, secondly, on the other side, they will ask the security agency, especially Mr. Kaur, to prepare for SFF-led operations, Secret Frontier. So these people are commando operations. Through commando operations, they will pick up Bhindranwale from Guru Nanak Niwas, earlier Meher Chowka, then Mehta Chowk, and even from the Langar roof of the Golden Temple when he was delivering the lecture. So these two was to fill up the gap. P.C. Alexander has written that negotiation which took place between the government and the Akali, 26 rounds were there. And every round failed, according to Alexander, due to the intransigence and uncooperative attitude of the Akalis. He very cleverly misses the most important part of that negotiation, which Sardar Swaran Singh, my father-in-law, former foreign minister and defense minister, he tried to mediate on the request of Harchand Singh Longowal. When Bhindranwale came to Guru Nanak Niwas in July 1982, Harchand Singh Longowal sent Prakash Singh Badal and Balwant Singh to my father-in-law that you Congress people had now moved the jinn or bhoot, they called Bhindranwale as bhoot in Golden Temple. Please help us to withdraw our agitation, because otherwise we think that he will take over the agitation towards militancy. So Sardar Swaran Singh sought the permission of Mrs. Gandhi. She said, please go ahead. He met most of the leaders who were in jail. Ultimately, they were also released. He met even Bhindranwale in his room and convinced him ultimately that one meeting that is described by this Kuldeep Nair in his book, that one day I was sitting in very untidy room of Bhindranwale, wherein Sardar Swaran Singh walked in. He sat on the floor, giving an impression, look here, even the person like Mr. Swaran Singh, they were afraid of this thing. I told later on Nair, Kuldeep Nair, that this was the main reason was that Sardar Swaran Singh wanted to get a concession from him. When everybody went out of the room, he sat on the chair and he told Bhindranwale, look here, I am totally surprised how you are thinking that you can now achieve your objective by your motorcycle riders, gunmen. If government decides they can crush your movement in 2 days, I am surprised why they are not doing it. Then he said, I have been asked by Mrs. Gandhi to find a solution. Please tell us what is your demand. He said, he started saying Hindu government, lots of things. He said, all these issues are being taken care of by Harchand Singh Longowal and moderate Akali. You tell me your personal. He said, please release 2 of my associates, Amrit Singh and Thara Singh. Amrit Singh was his guru bhai, Thara Singh was his number 2. So very small issue, and he had agreed. So this solution was worked out. On 4th of November 1982, a statement was prepared in consultation with Akalis and subcommittee. So that was to be read next morning on 4th, 3rd in the parliament, and Akalis would have withdrawn that agitation. So, but to everybody's surprise, that statement which Mrs. Gandhi approved during daytime was changed at night. A statement which was read in the parliament was totally different, very hard-lined. So on that they could not. There are 4 instances in which entire thing could have been solved, which was sabotage. Number 1 was this. Number 2, when the Atwal was DIG Atwal, AS Atwal was killed by Bhindranwale's men on the doors of Golden Temple. Darbara Singh was the chief minister. He told the central government people that, look here, I can arrest Bhindranwale from Guru Nanak Niwas, as it is not a part of the Golden Temple. But they did not. They deliberated for 2-3 hours, then they didn't allow. Next one was that when February 1984, Akalis got tired of all these things, that they are not solving the problem. A meeting was called in Golden Temple, and it was decided that we are unilaterally withdrawing this agitation. But Balwant Singh, who was very close to P.C. Alexander, because Alexander got him some 6 crore loan sanctioned. He was their man. Balwant Singh stood up and said, after making so many sacrifices, how can we withdraw this thing? This was not withdrawn. In April 1984, 2 months before this Blue Star, an SFF-led operation was planned. Bhindranwale was to be abducted while he was delivering a lecture on the Langar roof. He used to come. By the time he had shifted to Akal Takht. So this operation was prepared, and Mrs. Gandhi was briefed of this operation. Mr. Kaur and Mr. Nagrani, Director General Security. Both of Mr. Nagrani told me, actually, it is written on the book. So they briefed Mrs. Gandhi, and Mrs. Gandhi meeting was in One Oakwood Road itself. I have written that other members of the One Oakwood Road must have told Mrs. Gandhi, look here, if we pick him up from there, it's no dramatic end of that.
So you're saying that 4 opportunities to nip the problem in the bud and to resolve this crisis in a less forceful manner and arrest Bhindranwale were missed deliberately.
Actually, this proves what I have written in the book, that as per the original plan, Operation Bhindranwale Khalistan was to end with some sort of operation like Blue Star, where people of, especially the Hindus, hearts would have been gladdened that Bhindranwale had been suitably dealt with, and now Khalistan will not be a demand any longer. So in gratitude, Hindus and majority of the Indians would have voted for Congress and they would return to power. So this proves that thing.
But sir, you said that when you were posted in Canada at that time, at the peak of this entire crisis which unfolded in Punjab at that time, you saw that there was very little support for Khalistan. There were just 1 or 2 people, which you mentioned at the start of this podcast, who were sort of actually advocating for Khalistan in those countries, at least in Canada. But today we are seeing this upsurge in Australia, in Canada. How do you explain this as on date?
Two questions. Number one, in Canada, while I was there, people still remembered the contribution made by the Gadarites at all. And they were the heroes, Gadars. And Gurdwaras, in politics, people would jostle around the control of the Gurdwara. Khalistan was not an issue at all, and Bhindranwale was a total non-entity. And second question was that how did Pakistan take advantage? 7th of June, when Blue Star operation news came that Bhindranwale has been killed, I went to Gurdwara Bangla Sahib with my wife and 2 children just to see the atmosphere. There were a lot of people in groups standing, discussing, blaming Congress and Mrs. Gandhi for that. And there were some posters written there. One of the posters had a highly derogatory reference to Mrs. Gandhi, in which it was written in Punjabi that Bhai Sahab Amritpal Singh and Thara Singh had been tortured to death. Now it is the duty of every Sikh to kill ... this Bahmani, to take revenge. So next morning, 8th morning, I went and met Mr. Gary Saxena, who had taken over as R&AW Director and Secretary. I told him that what I saw was this, and having known and having taught history in Punjab College and having known Sikh history, I can tell you that Mrs. Gandhi will be assassinated within the next 6 months. So you have to save her. Then he said there will be a lot of killings of the Sikhs in Delhi if this takes place. I told him that this is what they wanted. Then he said, who are they? I said, obviously Pakistan and the Western countries. Pakistan will take advantage of this and take revenge of Bangladesh's liberation, and Western countries, especially I said Anglo-Saxon countries, US, Canada, UK and Australia, will use this as a leverage to take concession from you. I later on in the last chapter I have written, where I have said the way forward, I have written that these countries will now use this as a pressure to use India against the rise of China. And if India totally decides to go with the Western countries, they'll put the Khalistan issue in the back burner, as they did, I have also written there, with the Tibet issue. When Kissinger and Nixon went to China to meet Mao in 1972, to wean them away from Soviet Union, to deal with the dismember of Soviet Union, that time, during that period, they had put the Tibet issue on the back burner. The moment Soviet Union was dismembered in 1990, they gave Nobel Prize to Dalai Lama and they brought that issue back. I say at the most they can do is, if India goes whole hog with these countries against China, they will put the Khalistan issue in the back burner. And when it is all done, the China issue had been sorted out, they will bring it back. This will be happening. And I have given in that last chapter, the solution to this problem lies here. You cannot do anything in those countries. You cannot change Pakistan's attitude. The solution lies here. 13 commissions, committees and SITs had been appointed to go into the November 84 pogrom. Nothing has come out of it. Few of them has been sent to jail. And ultimately, between 80 to 95, these 15 years, 35,000 Hindus and Sikhs, some say 50,000, had been killed. They had to give their life just to make Congress win one election. So please appoint a truth commission here, and so that people of India, especially the Sikhs, should know as to what happened, who were the person responsible, and fix responsibility, so that the moderates who are in large number in all these countries, only very few people are there, the radicals who are talking about, so that their hands are strengthened, so they can say that look here, India has done this thing, now we should stand up to them. So whenever they can't stand, because these Khalistani tell them, what have you got? You have lost so many people and government of India is not doing anything.
There is, the court has already given its verdict in the case. So a court inquiry has been held.
Inquiry, it should be a larger thing. It should be
a reconciliation
commission
foreclosure
headed by former Supreme Court Justice and maybe one or two serving justices also. And I have given all the things that there should be registered apology, and people. And the problem is that most of the eyewitnesses are growing old.
Right.
So how, if they are not there, who will go and testify all that?
There is Australia. We are part of the Quad alliance with Australia and the United States and Japan. So it's not that India is not playing ball with the West. India is. Why do you think that the Khalistani issue is right now again on the boil?
Actually, these big countries are saying that freedom of speech, freedom of association, we can't do anything. They can do if they want. On the day Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated, next morning, a group called Republic of Khalistan was to take procession in London, celebrating this occasion. The British High Commission in London wrote a message to the Foreign Office that our trade amounting to $5 billion is at stake, please stop them. They were stopped. Again, now I want to say on 21st of October, another thing, I'll tell you the example. 1984, 10 days before Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated, I happened to pass through One Akbar Road, Safdarjung.
Yeah, I read that in
I have
your book.
written that. And I saw a Sikh and a Hindu constable with Sten gun in the hand. I told my wife, who has called them back? This is the surest and easiest way of getting Mrs. Gandhi assassinated. So next morning, I also, Mr. Saxena was still there, I wrote a note, small note. I say, please remove them forthwith, tomorrow will be too late, and also inquire as to why these people, who have brought them back. But then I told Sita Lakshmi, my PA, please prepare an envelope. By that time, I thought if they kill her today, I don't have a control of these people. They will say I was a part of the conspiracy. They will hold. So I shredded that thing. And the day Mrs. Gandhi was killed, actually Rajiv Gandhi was given the oath of Prime Minister's office by Zail Singh at 6:30 in the evening. Within a few minutes, this has been written by Vinay Sitapati in his book, Half Lion, that Narasimha Rao, who was the Home Minister, got a call from the Prime Minister's office that we are taking over your powers of police to control the riots. And rather than controlling from next day, it was 3 days program of the Sikhs, which was justified by Rajiv Gandhi by saying that when a big tree falls, earth shakes. And 13th Commission, all these, nothing, it was all a hogwash. Nothing has happened out of it.
What, how do you see this? How you said you were talking about a truth conciliation, a reconciliation commission. Do you see any sort of closure coming out of a commission of that nature?
I think it will, because it will say that, but speaking Hindus and Sikhs, there is hardly any difference. Sikhs protected, but born out of the need to protect Hinduism in the northwest. So they were two very close, and the dividing line in some cases very thin at all. Some family members would have Sikhs and Hindus. In November 84 program, the Hindus were so much excited that Sikhs were killed by the Hindus itself. How can you forget? And secondly, it's very big scar. The mark will always be there. Wound will be healed.
Right. Thank you so much for talking to us, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on this entire Khalistani conspiracy, which Mr. Sidhu has, of course, also viewers, written in his book, The Khalistan Conspiracy. But thanks for sharing this with us in an audio-visual format today, in our podcast today. And let's see where this takes us, whether the Truth Commission will be formed out of that program. Thank you so much.